Anyway, it's Footy Prime, and we've got a full crew here. As usual, we've got Jimmy Brennan there looking at us with nothing but disdain.
Mm-hmm.
We have Craig Forrest, as you mentioned, who likes dipping his celery into the pot. We have Dan Wong, who says
That's
terrible things
monologue.
before we actually start
That's
recording.
monologue.
We have a JC there to the left. Had a great dinner last weekend at the Chuck's Roadhouse Grill in Fort Erie.
Oh, boy.
And we have Amy Dubs Walsh, who always brings the sunlight to this show. Hey, Dubs.
Hey.
Oh.
What?
I don't know.
Shame on Doug.
I was just ad-libbing, just the way it came out.
I
I don't know.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Listen, plenty of sun in Vancouver. Probably not according to Wonger, but there is
No.
plenty of sun in Vancouver after a signature performance. Well, not performance, signature win moments against LAFC. An incredible match. Such drama. Had everything. 9-man Vancouver hang on to force a shootout and then prevail and move on to the semi-finals, or the conference finals, as we should call it in MLS, but I like calling it semi-finals.
Mm-hmm.
Craig, listen, this team's been doing it all year long. They've had their moments, their signature moments in the Champions Cup. They've won the Canadian Championship a bajillion times in a row now. No surprise there. But this just felt like that's the moment. That's what the fans will look back on, perhaps this off-season, as being that special moment where all kind of the luck merged, mingled well with the ability, and there you have it, a performance, a win, and a semi-final to look forward to. Fuck, I'm rambling today. I'm sorry. I gotta apologize.
No, I liked it. You got better. You dipped a little bit and you ended strong.
Did I? Thanks.
Yeah.
I'm gonna sit back and let you guys take over now, though. Okay.
I
Too many
lost
coffees this
there.
morning. Craig, talk about the game. There you go.
Oh man, where do you start? I mean,
Beginning.
the first half was dominant by Vancouver. I thought they were spectacular all over the park, back to front. The movement, the wide play. LA just couldn't stay with them, and they deserved the 2-0 result. And I remember putting something out on social media that, LA's not going to lay down, but that's a really good start. Some adjustments by LA in the second half, and then they got to be fair. They actually played very well and really dominated Vancouver, created a bunch of chances, ended up tying it. And then Sun's free kick was as good as it gets. Terrific free kick, tying it up. And then extra time, with red card and then the injury as well, which has kind of put Vancouver in a bit of a situation moving forward at the center back position. But we'll see how they deal with that. But overall, that extra time down basically with 9 men, how they hung on was a wee miracle.
Mm-hmm.
They were just absolutely, the crowd were just hoping that they could survive to penalties and give themselves a chance. And somehow that scramble that hit the crossbar, the post, and then smashed off the crossbar within 8 seconds. I mean, it was just incredible. And then they go to penalty shootout, and you felt that they probably had the up on LA just because LA had missed all those opportunities to take it in extra time. So just one of the most spectacular things I've ever seen in the game and in MLS. From an entertainment standpoint, it was brilliant. And obviously we're cheering for Vancouver, but it had absolutely everything. And the drama, you got to have some luck, obviously. And now they set themselves up in a position where they could actually still host the final because Philadelphia losing to New York FC. So good signs for Vancouver, and may at long last.
And we're all supporting Minnesota tonight, right?
Yeah,
Because
Minnesota.
win.
Let's hope that Dane Sinclair can stand on his head again.
Yeah, but then we got another game in Vancouver, right?
Yeah, that'll be interesting, eh? Dane Sinclair going to Vancouver, probably not getting the support that he would do next summer when they're playing in Vancouver and he's playing for Canada.
Yeah.
Still,
they've got to beat San Diego first.
They still got to beat San Diego, and that's going to be a big task.
Well, that's a great line, though. That narrative will get to. San Diego, yes. But Dubs, I mean, from a purist standpoint,
yeah,
it probably wasn't one for the purists, but just for anyone that just loves football and loves theater, it delivered.
Well, it had everything. So, I mean, I would argue that, yes, it was one for the purists because the first half was all Vancouver. It looked like they were going to run away with it, but you knew that LAFC and Trundolo kind of staring down the barrel at the end of his time with LAFC. There's 45 minutes left, and they made the necessary changes, and they came out of the gates just flying in the second half, and then the field was tilted towards Takaoka. How come nobody can pronounce his name, by the way? Wonger, you on no, but Wonger on the podcast on Thursday. Great pods, by the way, with Colin Miller and Asa Rahman, friend of the pod and contributor. And then also you guys had a great interview with Ryan Gault. So anybody who hasn't checked that out, go back and listen. But I think Wonger called him Takaoka. I think the guys for MLS season pass also had, anyway, it just, and I double checked.
I'm a
like,
racist.
Maybe I've been saying it wrong, right? Like maybe there's like a nuance to it that you're supposed to pronounce like the middle part of his name with an I. But no, I checked the Whitecaps site. It's Takaoka. Like it's pretty straightforward.
I spelled it wrong on a tweet during the match, which the supporters club called me out on. Yeah. But
slash Kerry Ryan.
Right. Yeah, slash Kerry Ryan. Thanks, Kerry.
Yeah. But how about that pass from Takaoka to open the scoring? Just brilliant. So it's the ref that drops it to him, right? It's like the restart. Yeah. Like his distribution, Asa Rahman's talked about it. Craig Forrest has talked about, we've talked about it on this podcast, how he's like an extra outfield player. He's just brilliant in distribution and the way that he reads the game as well, right? Because LAFC were quite high there, but they weren't sending anybody to ball. And then he like fakes like he's going to play it out on the left, and then he just gives himself a little bit of space and then launches that pass, and then the movement from White to create the space to draw the defender out, and then the excellent movement from Sabby to get in behind. But as I said, first half all Vancouver, second half all LAFC. And then Forrest, I wanted to talk about, you know, what you were saying with the game, or just like hanging on, and then that shot from Wonger that smashes off the post. And obviously there was more to it and more drama and more theater. But it was, I think, the waves, and I rewatched it. I didn't get a chance to see it live. I watched it yesterday, and then I finished it this morning because I was obviously went into extra time. And the way that Vancouver hung on, it was the belief in that community, in the stands, in the club, and everything that they've accomplished over the course of this year. You need a little bit of luck sometimes. So it was like seeing that chance, seeing them miss some sitters that LAFC have buried against Vancouver, but also this year. And then it just didn't happen. And so then like the swell and like the I don't know, like the chance, the energy, the buzz in the stadium just seemed to shift after they hung on. And then to see Son, who was masterful on that free kick, to just break the hearts of those fans and everybody watching, thinking, oh, here we go again. Food poisoning in CCC. We can't slay the dragon. We can't get past LAFC. And then the penalties start and Son smashes it off the post. Like, I don't think he could have hit it any cleaner than he did. And you're thinking, oh, hang on a minute. Maybe for once now, like for a team that's done so well, performed so well, been so dominant, that they're able to weather the storm, and that little bit of luck is finally on their side. So I know they're going to be in tough, especially missing that personnel at the back. Prizo's done so well, right? But like, what does Sorensen have up his sleeve? Does he have somebody who's going to be able to fill in for the injuries and then missing Blackman? But all of a sudden they can maybe do it because they got it over the line against LAFC.
I mean, touching on Takaoka, that I don't think I've seen somebody that comfortable with the ball and with the range that he has.
Yeah.
Since like somebody like Ederson at Man City.
That's what it reminded me of. Ederson.
Right? Like there's very few goalkeepers can ping a ball like that on a run and get somebody in behind and get an assist. I mean, Ederson has done it several times. Remember that with Aguero and whatnot. But right foot, left foot, both excellent. You know, and Asa actually, on the podcast last week nailed it. He was just talking about his distribution and how good he is on it, and he didn't disappoint at all. That was a spectacular goal.
Well, they were saying the podcast, Colin was saying how he could play in the outfield if he wanted to. He's that good. You see him at training. That being said, he did
better than Colin.
Where to put him? Former teammate Bantz. Love it.
Colin's nickname was Scud. Remember the Scud missiles?
Yes. in the first
They
goal
would
for
launch
round.
some, but they would have no idea where they landed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, they kind of
That
point
was
in the
his
general
nickname
direction.
in Scotland. Scud.
That's great.
That's terrible. A bit like my intro today.
Better than you think. Re-listen.
Okay.
I thought you were
Um,
going to throw a self-deprecating Tony in your sex
Oh,
life
right,
conversation.
No.
Yeah, right. Total
Don't know
scud.
where it's going.
At least it launches, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
Once in a while.
But I mean, he did miss it a few in the second half, right? It was a game of two halves in that regard, Jimmy. And in that,
Yeah.
I saw a stat. I think in the added time, it was extra time. It was I think 83% possession for LAFC, which is enormous. It just shows that resilience, right, of that Vancouver team. You mentioned injuries, but all year long they've struggled with injury. Well, struggled. They've had injuries.
Yeah.
But they've managed to get results, Jimmy. I mean, there's a mindset on that team that might be enough this year to push them to the promised land.
I think so. I mean, even the commentators said one of these two teams are likely to win the MLS Cup. They're just such good squads and teams, the way that they both play football. And then, look, when you're in that match there and you're up 2-0, and the Vancouver players be having it in their head as well, thinking it's not going to be all rosy here because LAFC have got such quality. They're going to end up coming at us at some point. You know, the tides have got to turn in a match. We've all been there where you're thinking, okay, 2-0 up, but something's going to happen here, and they're going to end up coming on at us. They're going to be on the front foot because we're protecting the lead. You tend to drop a little bit. And they just dealt with wave after wave after wave of attacks. And it just showed the resilience and, you know, just the camaraderie between them all, just to dig in and defend the way that they did. Yeah, you know, they were a bit lucky at times. Obviously, you know, ball hitting the post and, you know, some great saves and throwing their bodies on the line to block shots. And in the end, I felt that they deserved it. And I think part of it, you've got to give credit to the fans as well. 50-odd thousand people behind the Whitecaps. You know, that's where you're in that moment. You're looking around the stadium and saying, you know, this isn't just about us. This is about these fans that are here, this city. And to get the result that they did was absolutely brilliant for me. You know, one player that I really love is Berhalter, and I think he doesn't get a lot of credit that he deserves. I think he's one of the best players in the league by far, because week in and week out, this guy performs. And if I was the manager somewhere, he'd be one of the first players I'd be going after trying to get. Yeah, he's the heartbeat of that club.
The passion he was showing on the pitch, you could just feel it, couldn't you?
He's unbelievable. Look, if he was Argentinian, that guy'd be worth an absolute fortune.
His delivery is just frightening. Like, just on every single time. He just does not miss hit for set pieces. Wow. And Kubas was fantastic too. Box to ball.
Yeah, just
different class.
The way he sees a game, you know, I watch him a lot, and I like to watch certain players just off the ball and what they do. And you can see constantly he's just reading the game. He knows where to go. He knows how to close down. He marks the space. And I think he's a brilliant, brilliant player. Really is. Love it.
So they're almost there. I mean, listen, they'll well, again, we can't preview anything at this point because there's a match tonight, obviously. But every time that they're asked a question of them, they answer it, don't they? It seems this season. There's a vibe around that team. And we haven't even mentioned Thomas Muller. You know, they can do it without him when he's not at his best. Right? Proven, right? And incredible. Ali Ahmed was great again, I thought, before being subbed off for Jaden Nelson, a little Canadian action there. Jaden comes on, scores a penalty. So,
the best penalty of the lot.
Oh, my God. Keep that in the toolbox for the World Cup, please, Jaden.
I know. It's like amazing.
That's how you score a penalty, right?
Yeah.
You just roof it with as much power as possible. No chance for a keeper.
You're talking about Muller, but for me, I think the work that he done off the ball was incredible. It was incredible. He was backtracking. He was defending. And, you know, when you look at a player like that, you think, oh, he's going to just sit up top and wait till he gets his opportunity. But the work that he was doing the dirty side of the game in that match against LAFC.
Yeah.
And you got to give him credit for that.
And the way that he sniffs out the vulnerabilities as well, like the way that Ahmed was running at Porteous and Palencia in the first half, like they were just struggling. They did not have an answer for Ali. And then you just saw Muller like float over into that half space on the left as well. And the way that he connects and has an understanding with Berhalter, like that is dangerous. And also the way he leads the line, like the way he's doing the work off the ball, as you're mentioning, but like kind of he's constantly pointing and like getting guys together, sending White like on the triggers on the press. And obviously the second half was a different story, but still doing all of the grunt work and the ground cover and everything that he needed to do when they were badly overrun, especially in that second half. But they were just brilliant in that first half.
He's so positive as well, isn't he? Like you just see him constantly talking to his players, giving them high fives, arms around the shoulder. You love to see
he's
him.
amazing.
He's just brilliant. What a great human that guy is.
Well,
They took out Ali Ahmed, and I'm just wondering how managers think or what's going on the pitch at the time. 20 minutes left in the match. I think Ali Ahmed came out at like 72, 73 minutes around there. But there were substitutes. Are you ever considering penalties at that point with 40 minutes? Like it means you have to go through 17 minutes of final play, extra time added on, then like your 30 minutes playoff, and then penalty kicks. Are you thinking that far ahead, because I think they were 2-1 up at that point. So are you ever thinking about penalties at that point, or is it let's get to the 90 plus extra time and then we're done? Because I was just thinking it seemed like there were less and less options for, that I have no idea if Jaden Nelson was on the top 5 list, but then there's certain people that are out of the game that move him up. So I'm just wondering, do you ever think about penalties? 30 minutes, 40 minutes left in the game?
I'm sure Vancouver were when they went into extra time, they were thinking, absolutely, this is where we want to be.
Yeah, but that's at extra time. My point is, you're substituting Ali Ahmed, who's had a pretty strong game. And do you ever think about it then, or are you just getting to the finish line?
I don't think so. I mean, I think the substitutions were quite aggressive and didn't want to stop doing what they do best, and that is get forward. I think that they were going at that point to win the game and hold on. I don't think they were thinking about penalties at that time. Yeah,
you're going to win the game. You're trying to get something out of it in 90 minutes. The only reason why you're taking Ahmed off is because fatigue was setting in. He worked his ass off, and you need fresh legs. Like Nelson,
his legs, right? Yeah,
you're not thinking about penalties at all. You're thinking we got to win this in 90 if we can.
Yeah, you do see it in extra time. You might see it.
Yeah,
right.
But I don't think in a 70th minute at all.
No,
I mean extra time when you've got a man down, and then plus a player sent off, then you're thinking, get us into penalties. Just get us to penalties because we'll have a chance here.
Yeah. 9 against 11 is really difficult to hold on, especially against the team.
Jaden Nelson's anything like he's all legs. His energy, his work rate, right, is fantastic. And Ali, so's Ali, but he's probably knackered by that point.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny you guys talk about it here all the time. You up a couple of goals, and naturally you begin to sit back a little bit. And as fans, we watch this, and it just drives us crazy. Like, why? It was working. As footballers, like, tell me inside your head. You're up 2-0. It's not always a coach's direction. Okay, sit back a little bit. You just naturally do. You see it over and over again. Why is it? Why are you all so stupid?
It's human nature. Like, as much as you don't want to take your foot off the gas, it tends to be what happens. And I think, as Forrest just alluded to, they're so progressive, they're so aggressive going forward. It's just kind of built into their DNA, into their identity, the way that they attack, and especially the transformation that has happened within this group, which is very much the same as the group that was under Vanni Sartini. I mean, obviously you get the addition of Thomas Muller later on in the year, but this is a team that understands very much how to attack and how to be front-footed. They do that naturally. But I mean, it's talked about all the time, like that lead, that dreaded lead. It's obviously you want to be up by 2 goals. They're not going to take the Laborda goal back like just before halftime, just because you don't want to be up 2-0, right? But I mean, you have it happens right before the halftime whistle. Cherundolo makes some adjustments. They make some tactical tweaks. And as I don't know if it was Forrest or Jimmy who said it, like you know that. I think I heard the commentator. I'm being very critical right now, but in the opening when he's looking at the 11 and he's talking about, I think he's meaning to say the two-headed monster, and in his head he might have double-edged sword, and he called it the two-headed sword. And I was like, what?
It's a wicked sword, though, isn't it?
What? What's that now? I know. It's like something a Ninja Gaiden, but anyway.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, but I mean, that's what, like with Bouanga and Son, like there's an inevitability about that attack. And I mean, obviously, Vancouver was going to have to weather that. But yes, like to go back to your question, there is a little bit of unintended complacency that can set into your game. And I don't know if they were guilty of that as much as LAFC just felt a sense of urgency that we got to get things fucking going here or our season's going to be done. Yeah. So Vancouver isn't in control of that. Right. So I think you have to give credit where credit is due. And LAFC finally, after being absolutely overrun in the first half, and Vancouver were so good. They were so compact in their shape. I talked about Thomas Mueller and how he was directing, but they were so knitted together with their team parts, and their counter press was just suffocating. So whether they were intercepting balls or they were all over the ball carrier for LAFC, they didn't give them any time at all on the ball, and LAFC were poor when they did have a little bit of a spell of possession. They were unable to connect because that pressure was coming and they weren't responding to it very well.
When you're 2-0 down as well, what ends up happening is you start taking risks now because you got nothing to lose. So you start throwing numbers forward. You start playing a little bit more direct. You start whipping balls into the box. So that's how you end up defending. That's when you find yourself in that situation. You know what's going to end up happening. And that's where the tide changed, was once LA started doing that thing. And okay, now we have to be on the front foot here. We have to overload certain areas. We got to push forward, be a little bit more direct. And then that's when they start taking risks, and especially in that second half, because they know they have to get forward. Whereas when the game is playing out, it's completely different because you can kind of respecting the opponent and tactics come to play. Mm-hmm. You're not taking the risks that you do when you're 2-0 down. And look, I've always said it's easy to play football when you're 2-0 down because you got nothing to lose. So you're naturally on the front foot trying to get forward. So you don't play the same as you would if it was 0-0. They wouldn't have played that style or the way that they did.
It all makes complete sense now. Thank you. I will still despise and hate England or Canada when they start defending 1-0 leads or 2-0 leads, or my perception they're defending it, even though now I know different. Well articulated, all of you.
Was there sour grapes, do you think? Yeah, there's the quotes from Lloris and Cherundolo after the fact. He said, we'll wake up tomorrow morning turf. And Lloris talking about the surface, and then Cherundolo talking about, we'll wake up tomorrow morning, speaking about, late Saturday night right after the game, and then like the Sunday morning. And it's very much Vancouver didn't win this game. LAFC lost the game. Like, get over yourself.
They're up
like
2-0.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
They're up 2-0 after 45 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the other thing is,
a classy way to go out is he's leaving now. He's a fantastic coach. Seems like a good dude, but emotion makes you say silly things sometimes.
Is Lloris saying the field's not good, other than it just being a buried headline at the bottom if they won? He's just like, oh, I'm not crazy about this turf. In a French accent, obviously.
About this turf.
Hey, this turf is not good there.
It's a different
after he let the second goal in, just staring at the turf, it's a turf fault. It's a turf.
Yeah.
But he, it was such a magnificent game, even for him. He made that great save against Tristan Blackman, made himself big on the opposite. Like, he made some great saves too. So I can understand him getting nitpicky about the turf. But my only comment about Jadon Nelson scoring that penalty kick, he was like Gwen Stefani. He left no doubt.
Wow.
I really hope you haven't worked that for very long, because that wasn't worth it.
Hey, Wonger, don't speak.
Nice.
I will say about Lloris on the second goal, the header that he conceded. somebody of his quality, I don't care what surface is on, he's got to hold that. He's got to hold the initial header.
Yeah.
And the great save he made off Blackman, you could argue that he should have come for it.
Oh,
I mean, when he volleys it, he's only 3 yards out. I mean, it's a good ball again, but you could argue that he could have come up. He only had to move 2-3 yards at the most.
Yeah.
I read a comment in our YouTube comment section, and it said,
You almost said YT, didn't you?
well, I did. But it said Wonger doesn't know anything about football. And so you are correcting me. Thank you. I know nothing about football. So you're right. Thank you. I said Lloris saved the game, but he actually didn't. He screwed up.
Sax, you know that header? It wasn't really powerful, was it? I mean, watching it, I was like, he could have saved it.
Yeah, I just expected him to corral that in.
Yeah,
as opposed to, I mean, he did push it wide at least, and then it was a tough angle, went through his legs, the rebound, but I think he should hold on to that.
And a header wasn't the turf's fault.
It wasn't what?
The turf's.
The turf's fault.
Right.
Yeah, well, it's a perfect bounce. You know what you're going to get.
Right.
Hey, we know that surface isn't ideal.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible. It's not great.
And they know
but that's not the excuse. There was some terrific football played over that whole game. There's some magnificent stuff that you can't blame the serve for that. I thought they were excellent. Both sides.
There's been no movement or updates on the stadium with Vancouver, right? I know it's all ownership and sale all kind of tied in together, but I mean, this team is so good. You want to see them playing on a proper pitch, don't you? Let's be honest. But at this point, who cares? They're into the semifinals.
Good players can play on anything.
Yeah.
Miller's done okay. He hasn't complained.
He hasn't, has he?
Not a bad player.
Do you think he complains about anything? I guess if he did complain, you'd listen, right?
Yeah,
that's true.
He wields. See, when they won, someone brought this attention to me on Twitter. Everyone runs in the field, to celebrate the win, and he stops and goes back to Harburni. He's injured, his fallen teammate who can't celebrate, is in a chair, and goes straight to him first, gives him a hug, little chat, little whisper in the ear, and then goes off to celebrate with a fist pump. And the look in his face is like, we haven't won anything yet, boys. But we're on the way.
The guy's a legend. He doesn't put a step wrong. And even when he's talking about the match, he's like, I wasn't my best. I got pulled apart. There was just certain things that I could have done better. We could have done better as a unit. He's completely honest and about his assessment, and
brilliant,
beautiful game.